Have you ever struggled with sending a post request and wondered how to include a cookie session ID? It can be a bit tricky, but don't worry, you're in the right place. Today, we're going to tackle how to put a cookie session ID into a Volley request. I totally get it. It can be frustrating when your requests return empty objects instead of the data you need. You're not alone in this. Many developers face similar challenges when working with cookies and HTTP requests. Here's the specific question we're addressing today. One user asked, how do I put a valid cookie session ID into a post request using Volley? They mentioned that even after trying to set default cookie handles, they still received an empty object. Sound familiar? Let's dive into this together. So, what could be going wrong? When working with Volley, if the cookie session ID isn't set correctly, your requests may not authenticate properly, leading to empty responses. We'll break down the steps to ensure your session ID is included correctly. And stick around. At the end of this video, I'll share a pro tip that will help you manage cookies more effectively in your requests. To begin solving this issue, the user needs to ensure that the session ID is correctly retrieved from the cookie response. This is done in the request cookie method, where the user should extract the session ID from the response headers. Next, the user should ensure that the session ID is included in the headers of the subsequent request. This is done in the request with some HTTP headers method, where the user needs to set the cookie header. Additionally, the user should verify that the session ID is valid before making the request. This can be done by checking the response from the request cookie method to ensure it successfully retrieves the session ID. Finally, the user should test the entire flow to ensure that the session ID is being sent correctly and that the server responds with the expected JSON object. This can be done by running the application and observing the logs. Fun fact, did you know that cookies were invented in the 1990s? They were originally created to help websites remember user preferences. Now they play a crucial role in web authentication. Now let's look at the answers provided by other users. An alternative approach shared by another user involves obtaining the cookie session ID using a GET request instead of a POST request. They suggest calling the root URL of the server to retrieve the cookie, which ensures a valid session ID is captured. This method allows for a valid cookie to be obtained at the start of the application, which can then be used in subsequent POST requests to ensure proper session handling. Now, let's dive into a different answer from another user. An alternative approach involves creating a custom string request class that handles session cookies. This class overrides methods to manage cookie storage and retrieval. It checks response headers for session cookies and adds them to request headers automatically. Additionally, a MyApp class is used to manage the application-wide request queue and shared preferences for storing session cookies. It checks response headers for session cookies and adds them to future requests. Let's take a look at another answer from another user. An alternative approach suggests saving the session ID obtained from the login response in shared preferences or a database. This session ID can then be used in subsequent requests. To retrieve the session ID, the user recommends creating a custom request class. This class captures the response headers, allowing you to extract the session ID from the set cookie header. Here's the pro tip I promised. Always check your response headers for session IDs and ensure they are correctly formatted in your requests. This simple habit can save you a lot of headaches. And there you have it. You should now be able to include a cookie session ID in your Volley requests successfully. If you found this video helpful, please hit the subscribe button for more tips, and don't forget to check out our other videos for more coding solutions.